pledge allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item 3.0 roll call. Let the record reflect all members present. 4.0 student rep, doesn't look like we have one. Move on. 5.0 agenda additions and deletions.
I move that we delete item B from the consent agenda and place it back to where it was in the past.
Okay. Motion to move item B of the consent agenda just to the regular, we want it under, just right after consent agenda then?
Like 8.1 or something.
Yeah, like an 8.1 or, is that how you want it or?
Regular agenda item.
You bring it up under the consent agenda,
Yeah, we can just move it to 8.1.
or you want to take a vote on it all? Put a discussion
Well,
on
you
it?
made a motion, I just want to clarify it, just to make sure where we're gonna put it after that.
Mr. Chair, what was the motion?
The motion was to move the consent agenda item B to somewhere, I guess. It was going to be probably after the consent agenda to 8.1. Is that what you want? Just to,
Yeah, put it back to where it was in the past. It's been that way for many, many years.
That's also been on the consent agenda too, so it's been both ways. We can certainly do that, it's not a problem. So, and if we can get a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
Motion by
Okay.
Jones, second by
I have
Sager.
a prepared statement here, Nathan,
Okay, well,
discussion.
Let's we've got a second. So now I'm gonna open it for discussion, so you can go ahead.
Okay. The consent agenda was discontinued by board vote on August 10, 2015, and it was never voted on to return it as an agenda item. Who, without a board vote, decided to reinstate the consent agenda at our meetings and to include the treasury report in it? My question is, why wasn't a board vote taken? My treasury report was placed into a consent agenda only 3 meetings ago. By including the treasurer's report in the consent agenda, the report is only available to those who attend board meetings, look in the one public board packet binder at the meeting, or if they read the meeting minutes that are only available weeks after the meeting, either online or in the newspaper. Those that cannot attend board meetings rely on Channel 12 or the school website for the school board meeting information. You will not get the content of the treasury report and those videos if the treasury report is in the consent agenda, because they will not hear it. Not everybody can attend board meetings or gets the newspaper to access board minutes or has a computer to access meeting videos or minutes online. Is it not the board's responsibility to keep the community informed of the district's income and expenses? By including the treasurer's report in the consent agenda, the public does not have a chance to be informed of the details of the district's finances unless they either attend a meeting or look in the board packet binder or have a way to read the minutes online or in the newspaper. We should provide as many ways as we can to get this and other information out to the public, and having the treasurer's report as a separate agenda item, as we have always done before, is totally free. Since 2006-17 to 6/21/07, legal fees have cost the district $14,556.50. I have been denied to review any legal invoices as treasurer, and I will not sign off these payments until I can review them.
Well, in answer to your first question, I guess I looked it up and didn't need the board vote to bring the consent agenda back. I didn't think it would be that big of a deal. It speeds up the meeting. I think it's a wonderful thing, but if you want the treasurer's report out of it, we can certainly do that. At any given time during the consent agenda, if any of these things we want discussion on, we can take them up. That's not a problem. So it's just nice to get the routine items out of the way real quickly, because these are just for routine items only, so things that we do regularly.
Well, I just think it shouldn't go back the way it was. It's been that way for years. I've been on this board over 4 years. And that treasurer's report has all been given out verbally, and I think Leon, who's here as a former treasurer, gave that report for many years too. And to me, this is just an avenue that we're not informing the public on our financial situations and meetings.
And so that's perfectly fine to move it to the next item.
Chair, if I may,
Anyway,
fine, I don't mind the consent agenda. I think it's standard kinds of things. I'm okay with removing the treasurer's report from the consent agenda, because I do think that a lot of our discussions and the big areas that we're needing to make decisions on is based on some financial pieces too. So for that reason, I think it could make sense for us to remove it from that, for us to continue to review based on it's going to be reflected in the other decisions that we're making.
any other discussion? We've got to do a vote. All in favor of moving consent agenda item 8B to 8.1 for now and into the foreseeable future? Say aye.
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 All opposed? Motion passes. Agenda, anything further agenda additions?
I have in front of you what will be 9.5, which is to hire Christopher McIntyre as a special ed teacher at the Gilbert campus.
That's it then?
Yep.
Item 6.0, visitor input.
There is no one signed up tonight.
No one signed up. Moving on to 7.0, approve the agenda. Motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Motion Sater. I'll second by me. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 8.0, the consent agenda. It's going to be item A, approve minutes of regular meeting of Monday, June 12th, and special meeting of Monday, June 26th. C, approve 2017-2018 extracurricular assignments. D, approve 2017-2018 MSBA membership renewal. E, approve the 2017-2018 membership to MRDA. That stated, can I get a motion to?
I'll move.
Motion by Pearson,
I will second.
second by Lauder. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Item 9.0. Or item 8.1. Item 8.1, treasurer's report.
First check writing for the month of June 1st, 2017. Disbursement $78,056.76. Transportation $4,765.47. Community education $129.73. Capital outlay $9,803.75. Channel 12, $2,175. OBEC, $5,363, for a total of $100,293.71. In the month of July, first check writing. Disbursements, general fund, $113,502.02. Food service, $30,193.55. Transportation, $3,131.35. Capital outlay, $39,851.75. Channel 12, $1,300. $2,425.50, total of $190,584.17. Second check writing disbursements of $147,343.56. Transportation, $7,452.14. Community education, $8,016.98. Capital outlay, $36,655.07. Only $906.50 for a total of $199,374.25. That's it.
Need a motion to accept the treasurer's report.
Marcus, right up. I missed one page. Disbursements, receipts are $597,355.01. Food service, $31,709.64. Community education, $2,335.72. Capital outlay, $529.69. Channel 12, $2,130.10. $3,568.50 for OPEC, and total of $637,628.66. We had disbursements of $153,511.93. Food service, $57.25. Transportation was $10,694.65. Community education, $361.46. Capital outlay at $13,803.75. Channel 12 was $2,175, and $5,363 for a total of $185,967. Payroll was $661,129.84. Transportation, $35,598.63. Community education, $416.48. Flex benefit plan was negative $2,263.79. $115,179.57 for the OPEC, and total is $816,060.73. That's it. It's a long one this time because I'm reading for 2 months.
Yeah.
Well, normally it only takes about a minute.
That's fine. We still need a motion to approve 8.1.
I'll make a motion that we accept the treasurer's report.
I'll second.
Motion by Peterson, second by Andrews. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Moving on to 9.0 personnel. 9.1, approve the 2017-2018 teaching assignments.
I'll make a motion to accept that and approve the 2017-2018 teaching assignments.
Motion by Peterson. Second.
I will second.
Second to Sather. Any discussion?
Yes, there's a discussion I have in regards to the Dean of Students. If my memory serves me correctly, that position ended on June 30th this year, according to the meetings I had attended, and even in the recorded minutes on video. We didn't approve this assignment for Mr. Rayner.
That's what you're doing today?
Yeah, I'm just saying, I'd like to see that removed. And have maybe I must ask the board, do we need a Dean of Students?
Yes, we had that conversation about a year ago.
Okay, I wasn't on the board at the time?
Well, you were on the board when we approved the budget for the Dean of Students.
But it was temporary?
No, it's on next year's budget that you just approved.
Okay, well, I just, I would like to see that removed and maybe put that person back in the whole program. And do we need the whole program? What does that do for our district? What's the whole program do? I mean, does it, do we benefit any from the whole program?
Children
My
do.
children, yeah, yes, definitely do.
Okay.
I think we're able to retain kids here.
Mhm.
I
I mean, I'll be the first to say, I voted against the whole program. I think I was the only person last year, and since then, I've seen that, I've been made aware that we did have retention this last year because of it. So I would stand to support it this year, if that makes sense to anybody sitting here.
Yeah. I guess it's up to, do you want to
I don't want
modify the
to amend my motion.
Okay. Motion's not amended, so vote on the motion as is. The motion was to accept the teaching assignments as is. Any further discussion before we go on? Hearing none, all in favor of...
I'll second the motion.
Well, we can't, we had a motion on the table first, we can't second that one until after this one fails. Or if it does, fails or passes, either way.
I guess I would like to clarify a little bit more, if I may, Chair, on the discussion part for this. If there's a question regarding whether or not we need the Dean of Students currently, the situation that we are in has not changed from the time that we brought in the Dean of Students, so I wouldn't necessarily see why we would choose to remove him at this point. Part of it was decisions need to be made going forward on how we're structured, so I don't necessarily see the reason why we would remove him.
Well, are
Big
we
chunk of
looking-
change.
Are we looking at
Say
a
it.
part-time counselor now too? Fill in? Are we advertising for that?
That's the Dean of Students, if I'm correct, is up at the elementary school, up at the
He's
Franklin.
asking about a part-time counselor, and yes, we are.
Yeah, but that person is not at the elementary school. The Dean of Students, if I'm correct, is just mainly at the Franklin.
Yeah, Tom was here during those discussions, he understands.
Well, I'm just thinking, if we could get the counselor and Dean of Students at one unit.
The issue with doing that is the Dean of Students has a lot to do with the disciplinary things, and a school counselor would not want to be in that position of disciplining students when they want students to come and talk to them.
Two very different jobs.
Is your, sorry, Jim, are you thinking about a dean of students versus a principal? Is that what
Well, no, it's
the
just
discussion
that,
is,
well,
or?
according to the, well, it ended on June 30th. Was it never posted? I mean, the job was never posted. The dean of students position was never posted. So we automatically just, he gets back in, you know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm just, it was a temporary job that ended, okay, on the 30th of June, and it was never reposted.
So you're saying it was brought in as an interim?
Yeah. I mean, it was a temporary position until June 30th of this year. At that point, that would have ended. Dean of Students would have ended.
Correct me if I'm wrong, I think it was an internal assignment, and that's what we're doing, is we're doing assignments for the year. And this, nothing, to Kelly's point, nothing's changed this year, so we're continuing on with those assignments until we make some decisions.
This is the renewal of that, technically. Other discussion, board vote. Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
I
All opposed?
No.
No?
Motion passes 5-2. Nine point two, approve the 2017-2018 fall coaching assignments.
I'll move.
Motion by Peterson. Second.
I will second.
Second by Lotiger. Any discussion on coaching assignments?
You can see that there are some holes. We're still trying to find some people, so there will be additions in the coming meetings, but practice does start on August 14th, so it might be our next meeting is August 14th. So.
Okay. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Item 9.3, approve the 1.0 FTE special education teaching assignment of Debbie Jackson.
This is a replacement in the Franklin for the one that resigned this spring.
Any discussion on that?
Support.
Yeah, motion by Pearson, support by Denley. Now any discussion? Okay, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, moving on, 9.4, approve custodian driver appointment of Matthew Bothwell.
This is a replacement position for a retirement that occurred this spring in Franklin.
Any motion to accept?
Motion.
Motion by Andrews,
Second.
second by Sather. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. 9.5, hiring of Christopher McIntyre on the special ed.
This is a replacement position in the mail sheet.
Any motion to accept?
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Sather, second.
Aye.
Second by Andrews. And any discussion?
I just have a quick question.
Go ahead.
I've just been noticing in a lot of the interviews that there's, one or two, is there typically teachers that participate in the?
Yeah,
interview?
if it's at the right time of year. July isn't that time of year.
Would anybody be willing to come in and, especially I'm thinking for teachers. who
Couple
would be working-
things in that. I mean, one, if we have like say I had an elementary opening, absolutely, I'd wait for someone to be able to show up. Special ed where we only have one applicant, not as big a deal. And that is the case here, we had one applicant. Wouldn't have mattered if somebody was there or not.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. 10.0, new business. 10.1, approve the 2017-2018 non-negotiated rates of pay.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to, before we make a motion on that, I just got a few, there has been a few items on here that have been brought to the board's attention by other people regarding an increase. These rates haven't changed. Some of the rates haven't changed in a while. Last year we did increase the sub-teacher cost to be comparable with districts around us so that we wouldn't be in a shortage of subs for teachers. The couple that have been brought up recently are the custodian sub at $12.40 an hour, the secretary, clerk, and para at $10 an hour. I'll deal with those ones first. So the number that's been thrown around is increasing that figure to $15 an hour.
Which figures, Ken?
Looking at custodial sub,
Okay.
the secretary, clerk, and para.
Oh, both of those positions?
Mhm.
Both of those rates?
One is currently $10 an hour, one's $12.40. So I did have Randy cost out, because I mean, obviously we don't know how many subs we're gonna hire this year. It depends on how often people are gone. But looking at a 3-year average, if we bump those to $15 an hour, we'd be looking at about a $15,000 increase on the secretary, clerk, para sub, and another $8,000 on the custodial sub. Those are for a grand total of about $23,000 increase, and that's an increase that was not budgeted for, just to let you know. So anyway, you guys can debate that and decide what you want to do. There you go.
Could I ask, Chair, if, have we had a difficult time finding those sub-positions?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and to be honest, I don't know that
That's gonna change.
it's going to change.
Okay.
May or may not, I don't know.
Well, as far
It
as,
didn't really improve the teacher situation last year when we bumped that one up.
that's what I was gonna ask, but we're still kind of behind the teacher sub right
No,
now.
we're
right there with our
everybody else.
neighbors now?
Mhm.
Okay. 'Cause that was I mean, the pairs, we're having pairs, we have a problem with some pairs actually just coming to work, period, right? Isn't that part of that deal?
Some of this.
Yeah, it's put us in some precarious positions, but like I said, I don't know that if we bump it to 15 that we're gonna have a line at the door tomorrow.
subs have other jobs too, so that's where a lot of the holdup comes in.
Do we know if those two, if the $15 an hour would be comparable to other districts in our area, or?
Some, it is still lower than others though.
Okay. So then the 10 and the 1240 could be significantly lower.
It is significantly lower than others, right?
Okay.
What do we want to do with that one way or another? So make a motion on it.
And the last one that what we have traditionally, the election judge, the last one on there, we've done $9.50 for the election judge, the head, in the head for $11 an hour, excuse me. And City of Eveleth actually pays 11 and 13 of those two figures. That isn't a huge money deal, but those are usually where we draw our election judges from.
And we only have to have election judges for special elections. We pay them for special elections.
So what is it, about 12 hours?
12, 13, 14.
12 hours. Yeah. So, I think.
And with the note that minimum wage is at $9.50 per hour, which I think is important to realize as we're looking at what we pay people.
Yeah, I mean, the other one, I mean, if you want to look further, and I didn't cost this one out necessarily, but the lunch aides, I mean, we really struggle to find them. Don't know that an increase is going to fix that, but nurse subs, another thing. I mean, our regular nurse mate's close to $23 an hour, and currently that's low.
Does that nurse sub have to have the same
No.
certificate as, they don't, there's different requirements? Does a para sub have to be certified?
They should be, but,
Hardship?
yep,
So we don't get reimbursed for sub hours is what you're saying?
if they are not highly qualified, they'll be done.
Just so everybody knows, if you're not aware already, our para hours are, we get some help funding from those hours, right, Jeff?
Yeah, we are reimbursed somewhat. That's a difficult formula, but by the federal government for special ed parents. If they are highly qualified means that if they have a 2-year advanced degree or their equivalent, like taking the parent protest, which is a requirement for them to be employed here. However, subs, we don't always have that opportunity to make them that.
So one could suspect that by increasing the pay, potentially we could be getting applicants that may be a little bit more qualified for us to be able to do some reimbursement.
That's something I can't quantify. I don't know.
Okay.
Like I said, the only thing that I have to go by is teachers. Last year we bumped it up because we were $20 behind today on everybody else. And we didn't, I mean, there wasn't a lot of sub teachers that signed up.
Just there's no pool, I think is the problem.
Yeah. The only thing, I guess the caveat to all of that, the ones that we have are the ones that are saying, hey, you can bump this up a little bit.
Obviously, they want to raise it, right?
Yeah.
What did you say that?
Some of those have gone ahead and sought training on their own through the,
Yeah. The
so that they can become
highly qualified.
qualified.
So, there you go. What do you want to do?
That's $23,000 of a budget that we
Just on those
have
two, yeah.
accounted for
Right.
those two positions.
Right. Maybe.
Potentially, yeah. Okay.
Could be more.
It's just based on history, not.
Yeah.
Not looking more or less.
Okay.
If I may, I mean, what's the administration's recommendation for the gray area? Put you on the spot.
No, that's okay. I mean, it's definitely painful in that it isn't a budget item. I mean, if it's something that we budgeted for and you knew it was coming, I would feel differently about it. But I do also know that we are struggling to find these folks and probably need to do something about it. That's it. So I guess I would, if you put me on the spot, I would recommend that you bump it up something.
I guess we can always change it if we think so. We have cash, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't want to change it too.
Like I said, I gave you the $15 an hour scenario.
What are you seeing we're struggling at? Custodian subs, secretary clerk paras, playground lunchroom aides,
Yep.
then nurses?
Uh,
Not really. Leave that one for now.
That one's probably not as dire as the other three that you mentioned.
Yeah, I've been in the offices when the secretaries are trying to find subs and it's a highly stressful morning for them.
Mornings are stressful.
And when they can't find a sub for the nurse, they end up being the nurse.
So, I mean, to the board's pleasure, I'll make a motion that we approve the negotiated rates of pay as,
Non-negotiated.
or non-negotiated rates of pay as presented with the change of custodian sub at $15 an hour, secretary clerk para short-term sub at $15 an hour.
That would also bump the long-term sub. Or you can remove it altogether and just
We
have
should
one
just
line there.
make them the same.
Yeah.
And we'll make that the same. And then, I mean, we might as well move the lunch, playground, library aid. I mean, what do you think that's worth? I mean, should we get that at $10.50 or
It
something?
should go up at least $1.
Should we make that $10.50 an hour, and should we adjust the election judges to the Eveleth rate?
I believe minimum wage is going to go up soon. Is it going to go up soon?
To 11 and 13.
11 and 13 on the election.
Move the election judges to 11 hours for a general judge and $13 an hour for a head judge. And that's my dirty motion.
I will second that motion.
Houston, Bill Ettinger. Any further discussion?
Did you get that, Kathy?
Yes.
Hearing none.
Let's take, okay. Not that people do not, these are to be paid good money. I mean, on it, like, I just keep seeing the 10 to 15 as a huge raise. So that pill is a little hard for me to swallow versus the other ones. The other ones make sense to me because I'm just seeing that's a 50% increase.
I mean, I justify it because a highly qualified para gets 16 something an hour.
There you go. I mean, we've talked about it, so now we can do something about it.
Well, to get discussion going, I'll make a motion to move forward with an after school.
Commissioner Pearson to move forward with the after-school 1 hour a week. Is there a second? Is there a second? Is there a second? Hearing none, motion fails. So,
I would like to make a motion to approve the early outs for every Wednesday.
And I will second.
Motion by Saylor, second by Auditor to do the early out schedule. Any discussion on that?
On this activity that, on the early outs, who's going to govern to make sure that the assignments for those particular Wednesdays are going to be carried out?
3 of us.
Okay, all right.
And this would get us on schedule with other surrounding districts?
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking in the immediate area, Misabi East does it now, Virginia does it 2 times a month, and they're looking at all 4. They are not currently on our St. Bell schedule though, so but are working on it. They have some contractual issues with that. And St. Louis County is also on every Wednesday, so. As far as those immediately surrounding us, yeah.
And I've talked to a handful of teachers from different school districts that do early outs, and everybody that I talked to said that it works out fine. Initially, there's some kinks in the system, but once they're worked out, it works out fine.
I'll just say that ever since we brought this back up, I've been proactively trying to talk to parents, and I haven't had one parent that supported this. And they'd ask, what's the thing? And I said, well, we went through, and there's all this teacher, training and all this stuff, and it's supposed to benefit kids. And I said, well, what's the accountability? And I've handled the administration, and it's always come up, well, why don't we do it after school? Why do you got to put out 1,000 kids versus 30 teachers? And I said, well, apparently if we had the teachers coming after school, that contractually they're not obligated, so they want, people tell me, well, if there's no buyout with the teachers to participate for a year to see if it's a good thing and we get some feedback, why should we, as the community, buy into something that the teachers aren't going to buy into? And, that's a really hard argument to have with the public. And yes, we're elected to make the hard decisions, but as Director Gentilini said many times, we're here because the people elected us to be here, and we're their representatives. So at that stage of it, we have cash. I would be more than happy to spend our cash if it benefits our children's education, because our community that I've spoken with cannot see, they haven't been convinced to buy into this yet, because they've been told by many teachers that I've been told third party that many teachers won't participate after school. So that's a really hard message to give to the community. I would still like to see this happen after school, when we can have teachers prove that this is a process that's going to work, and next year revisit this and see if it's worth putting out 1,000 kids a week to see if this is going to go somewhere, versus do this for a year and we get stuck in something that we've chosen to do, and we're just going to continue to do it like we have for the last 3 years with our technology program, instead of fixing it every year just because it's what we've always done and what we did last year. This is a pretty big burden to our community for hope and a prayer, I guess, when there's alternatives and we have the means to do the alternatives.
One of the things that was brought up at our work session with Virginia School District, and Jeff spoke of it briefly here, is that trying to match the schedules too. So it serves, there's a lot of different purposes that it serves. And I've heard some of that. I also hear some that, if I was trying to force after hours training to staff in my other job, that would not go over well. And I don't think it's a great culture to...
It's not forcing though.
No, but it's highly recommending. And then what's going to be the view of that teacher if they choose not to participate in the overtime? I don't think that's necessarily helpful to the culture. I get there's positives and negatives to it. In my view, I feel like the positives are outweighing it for me. So I understand what you're saying, I do, but I'm tilting the other way.
I respect that, and to your point, I don't think the way Virginia's structured, Jeff can correct me if I'm wrong, is that this year we probably won't get on that same schedule anyway.
Nope.
So there's no hurry to try to, roll the dice, I guess, with, and then on the other side, I respect I've been an overtime employee for much of my life, and I get what you're saying there, but we're talking about a 9-month employment, situation and education that's, the greater good as children, we're not talking about a, year-round 40-hour-a-week, position either. So, I mean, there's different dynamics to apply to an educational facility versus a private or, year-round government situation also, so. And like I said, I guess I'm just falling back at we have the cash to do a pilot program and try to get community buy-in versus, going about it, forcing the community to do it, I guess. You're saying force the teachers or employment culture, but we're forcing our community to do it, and if it falls on its face, I mean, who's going to lose? It's not going to be us, it's not going to be the teachers, it's going to be our children.
Well, I'm making this decision based on a board member who's also a parent, and I'm okay making this decision, and I don't feel like 1 hour is going to negatively impact my children's education. I think it will be a positive for them.
I don't feel that same.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah.
And Jeff, if we make this decision to do early outs, does it necessarily mean that we have to continue doing it in the years to come? I mean, if it does not work out and people, it doesn't work out very well, the items that you have down for topics aren't, you're not really doing those things because other things come up or whatever. Do we necessarily have to continue doing this?
No, the key would be to not negotiate minutes any differently in the contract. I mean, if we just leave it the way it is, I mean, you're still set up where you can make that change. If you need it.
Is there gonna be some sort of like reports done on each week that this happens, so we can find out where the program is heading, or if it's gonna be positive, and I mean...
Yeah, we'll discuss every 2 weeks at the board meeting as part of our report. We will talk about what we've been doing.
Does it have to be put 1 hour early out versus mandatory overtime? Can it be 30 minutes early out, 30 minutes overtime, and you're going to be able in 1 year gauge how much buy-in you have from your teachers? If we're considering this a pilot, early out by 30 minutes and 30 minutes of overtime.
It's not out of the realm.
I mean, then both the parents and the teachers are kind of meeting halfway on that.
I mean, at this stage, there's no metrics to show early outs works yet. I mean, it's such a new concept, period. I mean, and that's my, if there was educational data to support this, I mean, but there's not, I mean, and that's the...
And that's why I'm trying to think a little outside the box, and everyone gets that halfway.
I think the big thing is we're in a situation, and have been for 100 years, where we're not doing anything part of staff development because there isn't time. I mean, the kids get off the bus, they're in the classroom, they go home, teachers are 20 minutes behind. I mean,
It's staff development. I mean,
Yeah.
it needs to happen. I'm not saying that we don't need to invest in our teachers. I hope everybody realizes that. It needs to happen. And I think as a school, we haven't supported those needs very well. I just think this is an extreme measure to try to play catch up, to figure something out. I mean,
I don't know, part of it though too is, teachers that do elect to stay, if we did after school, if there's those teachers that do elect to stay after school, see those other teachers who are not, it's gonna cause bitterness and friction, I think. And I don't know if that's in the best interest of anybody.
That's my concern on the culture.
Yeah.
it's a pure working situation. I mean, there's teachers every day that walk through the halls that monitor the hallways, and there's other teachers that poke their head out the door. I mean, they see that anyway, I mean, that culture's already here, I guess. And I could bet you I could talk to 3 teachers and they'd tell you who would participate in something like this after hours and who wouldn't. They already know that. So I guess I get your point, but I mean, those lines are already drawn, in my opinion, from my outsider's view.
I guess whoever you want to call it, risk versus reward or return on investment, I think it's a place to start. Go after it for 1 year, and if you didn't see any improvement, then maybe not do it next year. But it has to be heavily monitored. I mean, not heavily monitored, but there has to be some surveyed and reviewed, or whatever you want to call it. There has to be some way of monitoring the progress of it.
not just surveys of teachers, but surveys of the, parents and how it's impacted them. If they were able to work it out, or if they had struggles, and what their struggles were, that kind of stuff. But I do feel that the teachers need time, and I just feel like doing early outs is the best option.
I guess we can discuss it in length. Any further? We're going to vote then. All in favor of approving the early out schedule? Yeah.
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
No. Motion passes.
We voted no.
Moving on. 10.5, approve the first reading of policy 534.
Just a new mandatory policy that as we spent some time with our food service providers and just recommending the first reading.
I'll make a motion to approve the first reading of the policy 534.
Ms. Heather, I'll second it. Any discussion on it? Hearing none?
So I was reading through it, and under 2A, it says about allowed to charge a second meal, so they would still get a bag lunch, like the peanut butter and jelly sandwich or something like that.
Right.
Okay.
Any other discussion? Hearing none? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. 10.6, approved school bus purchase.
We had 2 bids. We have, in the past couple of years, gone with United Truck Body. As they are closer, they're out of Duluth, so our warranty work is with the Thomas bus. We have to drive, I think it's down to St. Cloud for warranty work, but this past year, Schubach did become an authorized warranty service for the Thomas buses, so that shouldn't be an issue. Just a little side note, if you've been following this at all, these are considerably cheaper than buses we've bought in the last couple of years, and that is because this one is a standard bus, it's not the transit style flat front, because this one will reside over in Gilbert. So it's about almost 13,000 less than the buses that we have in mind. But I would recommend that we go with the cheaper Thomas bus. It's about $600. We had budgeted $104 because we weren't sure that we were going to buy another flat front or not. So it's well within what the board had budgeted for.
Motion on, I guess one way or the other?
I'll make a motion to approve the purchase of the Thomas bus for $91,495.22.
I'll second.
Okay, motion by Heather, second by Andrews. Any discussion?
Does Schubert have the technology in that to do this service and warranty work?
Yeah, they became an authorized warranty service dealer this past year now. So, yeah.
Be a lot closer and bringing it down to Duluth.
Yep.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. 10.7, discussion regarding school nurse services.
Mr. Chair, we have, this past year, we hired a new school nurse here at Franklin for the same hours that we had previously. However, this particular school nurse we have is a licensed school nurse, which allows us to do some different things as far as third-party billing goes. That means that students that she sees that are either on an IEP or are receiving MA, they can bill insurance services for any nursing services that are provided for them. With that, we can also extend that over to her if she has supervisory duties over onto a different one. We can still bill those. And we currently have a high number of high medical needs students that are residing on the Gilbert campus at the moment. And our current operation of having a 2-hour person covering that and also working as a paraprofessional is not adequate anymore. So I'm recommending that we increase the nursing time in the Gilbert campus, and this would be an asking position, so it could be an LPN or an RN, it's still the same price. I think it's $22.43 an hour. From 2 hours to 6 hours, that's a 4-hour increase. That really shouldn't affect our bottom line because most of that would be billable.
Oh, okay.
There may be a slight increase, but I think it's going to be negligible.
Okay, and then you can just post for that then.
We'll post for a 6-hour position, actually. You're increasing 4 hours because we already have to. But we will post for a 6-hour position.
Okay.
And that could, like I said, it could be an LPN or it could be an RN because that'll be supervised by the school nurse that we have.
Sounds good to me. Get a motion to,
Would we make a
Or do we
motion
do a
as a
motion?
discussion?
Yeah, I'm recommending that
Okay.
you authorize me to post for those 4 hours. You can discuss whether or not you want to or not.
yeah.
It's just my recommendation.
Do we want to post, I guess?
I mean, you can elect not to.
It's no reason. It's going to be billable too, and and then we have a need for it, big
Well,
need.
I mean, that's the thing of our business, right? I mean,
Yeah.
whether we like it or not, we have a need for it, and we have to accommodate that need. So, I mean, I would make a motion to post for the 6-hour nursing position on the Gilbert campus.
I'll second.
Motion by Peterson, second by Saylor. Any other discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Thank you.
Passes. 10.8, need to set closed session to discussion negotiation strategies. So that would take place after the administrative report, and we'll come back for adjournment. I'll move. Motion by Peterson. I'll second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Passes. 11.0 administrative report.
Just wanted to give you an update. We don't have any cute playground pictures or anything, so there's no kids this time. So I wanted to give you a little update on where we're going with recommendations we made earlier this year. And you can't read the red. Hey, let's try and flip the light quick, just see if you can. A little bit. I should check these things on the screen first. All right. So a couple things. Going through staff development, developing we said develop a district-wide staff development committee. In the interim, while we're deciding what we were going to do with the early outs or after school, how we're going to do that, we have had an informal committee. We will now become formal. We'll have a formal staff development committee to oversee planning and implementation of what we have proposed. You can see the adopt-a-con calendar. We did that earlier this year. You just did the early outs tonight. Developing PLCs. We did form a committee and sent them to several trainings this year and kind of waiting out. And this is going to be part of the early outs, the PLCs, professional learning communities. Will be done once a month after school. And then to develop a staff development program to stay at the forefront of technology. That's also part of the early out thing. So all these things, this is a big decision tonight. I know for you guys it's fairly impactful to the community. We're very respectful of that, and we're going to do our best to make sure that we make this a positive experience for everybody. Curriculum, we recommended that we move away from traditional electives. Expanding offerings through telepresence. Ms. Williams actually reached out to a lot of different schools this year trying to get some of our smaller classes to participate in telepresence. But one of the major roadblocks we have again is bell schedule. She did manage to get Greenway tied in with our calculus class, so we do have that one, but that's the only one that, right? That's the only one that we have.
Two Harbors, I have one student that's interested in criminal justice.
Okay, so we may have another one possibly. But like I said, I mean, even the Greenway thing early in the morning, I mean, their bell schedule is significantly different enough that it was a little bit of a scheduling jam, but we'll make it work. But more of that. One side note on that, I know EIP, who has been really pushing this Education Innovation Partners, is looking to hire a coordinator for telepresence so that they can actually meet with schools to say, hey, they've got this first hour. And a lot of this is predicated again on the bell schedule, and some schools have jumped on, and we're close. One of our problems with bell schedule as it is now is because we have custodian drivers, so we have several people that have a bus route in the morning. They're custodian during the day, they have a bus route in the afternoon. So 8 hours only fits in between here and there. And a lot of our bell schedule is dictated to when their bus times are, unfortunately. So, but we'll get to that in a minute. Collaborate with area tech school and neighboring districts to develop next generation IT courses. We actually do have students set to go in 4 different classes over at the tech school next year. It's not a ton of kids, but as a pilot next year, we have, help me out, Ms. Williams, we have graphic arts
And carpentry.
Carpentry.
Those are the ones that we have kids in right now. There was a hand and power tool, but nobody had signed up
Oh,
for
we
that
didn't get
one.
into that. All right,
No.
so I got to back the number. And nursing is the 4th one,
Yes, nursing.
which we have done before. And then, of course, backing up a little bit, we collaborate with Virginia on welding. We still send kids there for welding. They will be sending kids here for small engines, possibly, unless we have too many kids in there, of our own, which is a distinct possibility. And we also send a couple kids over to Mount Iron for the food occupation program. So, blended online classes. This is a blend of seat time and doing stuff at home. Kind of a buzzword out there right now. We have spent a considerable amount of time looking at that. We didn't have enough time at the time that we brought this to you to actually pull it off for next year, but I would look for that in 18-19 as a possibility. Looking at becoming an accredited AA degree program, we were actually on track for this a couple years ago, and that has slowed down considerably because of requirements on staff as far as who can teach those classes or not. So that's something that's being worked out at a way higher level than we're at, but we are real close right now. I mean, kids are leaving here. They're not that far away. I mean, they're graduating within a semester if they work hard here. Birth to the Early Childhood Center. We already have the 3 to 5-year-old piece in place. Not the most ideal facility situation with that, but we do have it in place. We have been working with the city looking at the birth to 3. We did open up the high school cafeteria as a possibility to maybe doing something there, but that is in the way early planning stages at this point. Education careers, that means encouraging kids to go into educational fields such as paras or teachers. We are working at placing students in elementary classrooms as an alternative to study halls. We have a number of kids last year that were interested in that type of thing. Trying to grow our own, because we struggle to find all of the above, so maybe if we can get kids interested early. STEM program, again, not enough time to implement, but we definitely something that will be in place by the next school year. The problem with a lot of this stuff is, I mean, our schedule, we start planning in November for the following year and kind of gets finalized in January. So I mean, by the time we hit this, I mean, it's already too late for a lot of things. Transportation, just a little update on it. We had told the board that we were going to look into the possibility of contracting on all of our transportation services. We actually did contact a local vendor and spent a lot of time this winter looking at routes and looking at feasibility. Spent quite a bit of time with the union talking about this. And the unfortunate thing at this time, just because there isn't a transportation provider that's here with a bus garage currently built, it's going to be real tough to be competitive right now. I mean, we're probably doing about as good as we can, even though our transportation costs are extremely high. It's probably about as good as it's going to get until we do anything. That is obviously something that's being talked about in the collaboration talks, and maybe that'll go somewhere. Extracurricular activities, we had talked about forming a committee of administration, coaches, and parents to determine programming. And we did. We hired a facilitator. Came in. We had real good attendance, particularly in the first one. We had about 34 people there. Pretty much represented most of the sports. I don't think we had too many that were not around. But as probably could be expected, that group was, you know, they're fighting for the sport that they're passionate about. And the unfortunate thing is that we weren't able to make any type of consensus as to what should happen for this programming. I think if we were to come out of that room with anything resembling a consensus, it was that we have a number of sports that are very low in participation right now, and they will probably die within their own weight within a few years anyway. But maybe not. There was a lot of talk about actually collaborating, cooperating, whatever the word you want to use. Some of the lesser participated sports, just to continue offering them. There was a lot of talk of, well, if you cut this sport, we're going to lose this many kids, that type of thing. And I don't know if all that is true, but I mean, it was weighed pretty heavily on people's thoughts that were in the room. They didn't want to see anyone that had participated in a sport for X number of years and all of a sudden had the rug pulled out from under him, not offered anymore. So I mean, it was, I don't know, you guys were there. It was pretty emotional at times. I mean, sports always is. And yeah, I mean, we gave it a run. It obviously is still on the table. We're talking with another school district now, so it's certainly not a dead topic. And then the last part of it would be, of course, facilities, which we haven't done a whole lot with at this point. So that's my update. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Take a little recess.
Recess, moving to full session.